All right, this may not be how all your turkey taxidermists skin their turkeys, but this is how I do mine currently. If you're going to hunt out of state and try to ship a bird back to your home state or to your taxidermist, it's going to be a lot easier, a lot cheaper to ship it if you'll go ahead and just skin it out. Remove the tail, like I'm going to show you. And a whole bird will take 2 or 3 days to thaw, which is great in shipping, especially in warm weather, but it also takes several days to freeze to begin with. This, I think you'll get it frozen pretty fast, and you won't have as much blood and stuff like that in it, which blood causes bacteria and causes problems later. So the first thing I do, raise up all these butt feathers, leave them on the turkey that we're gonna do here. All the butt feathers you see, and you're just gonna cut along the back of these. These were tucked in there, so we need to get them out. You're gonna cut along the back of this tail to remove the tail. Just leave all those attached. Get the knife up under the quills. Having a good pair of cutters or a good pair of scissors is handy right here too. You can get a by if you don't. Clip that tailbone. At the base of those quills, go ahead and just cut right through the meat and on across. Now, take your tail, fold it back the other way. You got your primary tail feathers and these secondary tail feathers. The rest of these are all back feathers. Separate all of that. There'll be kind of a little tit-like thing down in here. I'm a taxidermist and people say that's his wiener, and I can't hardly imagine that, but anyway, I don't really care. Cut right across there. Leave the back feathers on the bird. Cut right across. And remove the tail. So you should be left with no back feathers, secondaries, primaries. That's it. Easy to ship. Just keep it nice and neat. Set it aside. Put it in a separate bag. Tails are kind of tough to clean, and actually they look better natural than they do after they've been washed and all that. So if it's a good tail, in good shape, you might be able to get away with not having to do much to it. So I do a Y cut, just a Y shape, or actually a U-shaped cut from one ankle to the other ankle. Go ahead and don't get too close back this way. You know, cheat a little towards that way. You can imagine if this turkey was standing, his legs would be down here. They wouldn't be back like this. So try to get cut right across here. Just stay on the inside of the leg. If you'll cut with your blade tip up, it will help to avoid cutting feathers. Stop right there. Find where you've cut it open. It's so easy to cut a hole. They are fixable if you cut a hole, but of course it's a lot better if you don't. Better for me. You don't have to get too carried away. I can do a lot of this later. You're mainly just wanting to get it skint off of there so you can ship it easier. Small knives are better. It's too hard to get in here with a big knife. You're going around that drumstick. When you get to the joint, not this joint, but there's a joint down in here, cut right through that joint. You're basically left with a big drumstick on there. Just keep bending it until you find the joint, and it'll cut real easy once you find it. If it's not cutting, you're not in it. Try not to cut across here with the back of your knife when you're doing this. Now, of course, when I get this, if I was doing this for myself to mount, I would go ahead and skin all this out all the way down to that main bone. You have to keep that bone. This bone has to stay attached to this leg for the way I mount my turkeys. I use that bone as support and measurement and several other things. So attached just like that. You can leave it just like that if you want. I may go ahead and take it off there like I normally would. Or at least some of it, not all of it right now. It's kind of hard to work with it when the weight of that is pulling down on it, so I'll just take it off right now real quick. The purpose of this video is not to basically show you my prep work for skinning or to mount one. It's mainly just to show you how to get one skint in case you need it skint to ship it to your taxidermist. Those tenons are a pain in the butt. Now you can do a little bit of this other side with it hanging. I've just got it hung on like a winch. Hanging, you could probably do this on the table, but it's so much easier for me if it's hanging. You can't really do a lot with this leg hanging. It's holding all that weight. Everything's really tight. So if you've got any kind of a heavy wire, you can make a hook in. You know, a big heavy fish hook would probably do it, but this works for me. It's just a wire sharpened on one end on a rope. I pick this bird up. Don't stick it through the skin, but I stick it right into the back of that breast, and that'll hang it and relax this for me. If you don't get it deep enough into that breast, it will come out on you, and it can be dangerous. When all this weight comes down, your hands go down with it. Now you've hooked yourself, so be careful. I'm going to take this down just a little more, and I'm going to hook it a little farther down. It gets really hard up in here, but it's not very hard right through there. Hook it right through that hard piece in the middle. you pick this up, try not to grab the feathers, or definitely not here or anything like that, because the weight of it, you will pull a lot of your feathers out. So I try to grab where there isn't any, if I can. Seems like that's holding better. Now you can take this off. And do the same thing to this side. I've never claimed to be very fast at skinning turkeys. I'll usually have at least 30 minutes in skinning a turkey, if not 45, and I've skinned a lot of them. Once you get that cut off, just like the other side, like I say, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to take some of it off. I don't know how many tendons are in there, but every last one of them's a pain in the butt. Again, if you're just shipping it to your taxidermist, you might as well just leave that on there. Now, you got the rear end right there. When you're cutting through this, you're gonna run out of place to cut, because it's gonna come right to that butt. And you're gonna have to figure out where to cut through at. This is like the tailbone, right below the butt. I guess it wouldn't be a tailbone. Whatever that is. Once you get past that, you can start thinking about cutting through. You're gonna think you cut this big hole, but that's actually the inside of his butt. Go ahead and cut right on through again, and now you've cut it in half. I cut a little hole there. Try to pull this skin. It's going to be tough to skin. It's really thin skinned. Try to pull this on around that. If you have trouble, once you get through that butt, just take your big clippers right here and clip a little more and leave some of that end of that tailbone on there. It'd be fine. Just work your way down real slow. Kind of hard to see where you're at on these. That is where your tail was. Really, that's probably the trickiest part if you've never done it before. And the easiest place to cut holes. I've got a couple already. I don't mean to ignore this turkey. Look at those hooks. That's an incredible Eastern. They're just shy of 2 inches. The back is pretty tough. There's not a lot of meat there. It's real hard. It's so easy to cut a hole. Just keep angling your knife towards the body, you'll be fine. Come on around the leg. Now you can spin him around and start working on the front. One thing that actually helps right now for me, this bird was in the freezer and he's still partially frozen, so it keeps the blood down. It actually makes it much better to skin it and a lot less mess. You'll take these wings, I should have already showed you this. You got him hanging upside down. If he's real fresh, you don't have to worry about it. Since it's been froze, they're kind of like set, closed. Just keep pushing them down, open them up, push them down. When you get down here where this wing attaches, you're gonna need that room. You're basically just tubing, just like a sock, you're tubing this bird off here, this turkey off here. Right down in here, I don't know if you can see it, but this wing bone, well, that ain't the wing bone, the meat of it, the wing bone, that's getting into the joint. That joint is what you want. You can kind of tell because you start to get a big hole here on each side. Starts to get a dip in it. I think he had some damage to his chest. I don't think that's from shot. When this turkey's fresh, it's gonna be just slimy. You can't see where you're at. Try to look for these bumps. These bumps right here are the bottom of the quills coming through. They will help you to see where you're at. Don't cut through the bumps, you'll cut right through your skin. So when you get down to where this joint, you may have to do some feeling. Stick your fingers in there, move that wing. You'll feel where that joint goes in. Right in here, right at the tip of my finger down in there is that joint. So just cut that breast open a little bit. Find that joint, it's super easy to find. And go ahead and cut it on through. Once you get it totally detached, just leave it hang. Come over here, just go in here, dig in a little bit, you'll feel it. Right there. That's it. Now your wings are totally detached. Now you can go ahead and cut on through that wing meat and keep going down. The head is still on this turkey. If I was gonna mount it, or go ahead and skin it and flesh it right now to get ready to mount, I probably would have already taken the head off. But if this is just for getting it to your taxidermist, leave the head on. Ain't gonna hurt a thing. There's where your wings connected. There's the ball joints. Went right up in here. Just real gently, you can see how slimy that is. If you'll make small cuts with a sharp knife, you'll be able to tell if you cut a hole because you're gonna see feathers. If you make big giant cuts, especially if it's a dull knife, you're gonna be moving real big and pushing real hard. A dull knife ain't gonna do you any good. Sharp knife, you can just barely touch it. If you get a hole, stop, figure something else out, go to a different place. Turn it a little, just keep coming down. You can actually, if it's hooked good up here, you can do a little bit of pulling, not much, but it'll start to show you where you need to cut. Hopefully all that was still on film in the screen. If you want, it will help out your taxidermist. It'll make your mount better later. All this blood ain't gonna do any good. It's not. All it's gonna do is it's gonna get everything nasty. The cleaner you can keep your turkey, the better shape you can keep your turkey, the nicer your mount will be. Bottom line. Whether you're walking out of the timber with it or you're skinning it. Go ahead and grab all that slime and just real gently pull it away and trim it off. All that membrane, I should say. There's really just no need to keep it on there. Just grab you a pinch, start up here by the neck. Trim some of that off. This is one reason why a lot of taxidermists don't mount turkeys. It's nasty. You wonder why turkeys are expensive to get mounted? Imagine taking a wire wheel on a motor and putting this up against it. Imagine the soup that it makes. It's nasty and you have to do it. You got to get it all cleaned off and down to nothing but skin and quills without destroying it to mount it, to have a quality mount. That's probably good enough for now. Go ahead and come on down. Don't go too far. Probably any time right now. You can go ahead. You can probably go ahead and cut it off here. The further down I go with that head still in there, now the beak starts digging in to the neck feathers and it could pull them out. Or it could rough them up to where they don't want to go back, you know, in the same shape, in the same condition. So just go ahead and cut that neck off. You get one or two good clips, you can go ahead and cut it off with a knife. It will bleed everywhere on you when you cut this off, especially if it's fresh. Don't have a towel. Take this and fold it back right, inside out. Just take your hands, grab a hold of that. You're gonna get your arm nasty. Fold it back through. Grab the beard, the head, whatever, pull it through. That's how you do it. I don't make videos for a living, as you can tell, so sorry for the amateur way of doing so. Might wipe it down a little bit. I would suggest just taking your feet, untwisting them, find where they go, stick the legs up in there, fold it over. Stick that one up in there. Make sure the beard's laying straight. Fold in this wing, fold in that wing. Really, you should get you an old sock, an old rag, something like that. Wrap that head up in it real good. Just wrap it up. And then if you got a couple Ziploc bags, stick that head down in the Ziploc bag, fold it in. At least all the blood in the head won't be dripping all over your bird. You know, after you get it in the bag and get it on its way. But I'd fold that up. Just push him on in there. Got that head in a rag of some sort and in a couple Ziplocs, and then put him in a good heavy bag, the whole bird, maybe a couple bags. If you're gonna put ice in the package, if you're shipping it back in a cooler, if you're bringing it home yourself, whatever, put your ice in 3 or 4 trash bags, lay it in the cooler. Now put your turkey in 3 or 4 trash bags, lay it in the cooler. If the turkey gets a hole in its bag and the ice is still contained as it's melting in a bag of water, basically, it'll still keep things dry. Almost everything that comes to us with ice that's traveled across country, it's always wet. Hardly ever do people put it in enough bags. They never put their ice in a bag. I don't know why, it couldn't hurt. I know it'll melt, but if it's tied on top real good, maybe it'll help hold some of it in. The drier you can keep it, the cleaner you can keep it, the better. Liquid, blood or water, either one, causes bacteria, causes hair slippage in haired animals. It'll cause the feathers to fall out. Hope this helps. I guess I'm not done. Also, put your tail in another separate bag. Just slide it up in here with it if you would like. Close it up. Should be just fine.